Welcome to 2K Sports. I'm glad to have you with us for NBA basketball. Friday. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. This is the NBA on 2K Sports. I'm Kevin Harlan. Now a chance to check out tonight's starting lineups. First for Boston, speedy backcourt of Rondo and Bradley. And it's Kelly Olynyk out of Gonzaga, a 7-footer with inside-outside offensive skills in the middle at center. What a tremendous talent, getting ready for his first NBA appearance. Then there's Green, and it's Bass in at the 4 spot. And for Indiana, George Hill at the 1, Paul George at the 2, and starting 7'2", one of the true giants in the game, another great big man out of Georgetown, Roy Hibbert. Then there's Danny Granger, and it's West in at the 4 slot. And the call will be against George Hill. That's his first foul. Green passes to Bass. And it's Paul George with the foul. That's foul number 2 for him.
He's picked up a couple of quick fouls here. I think he's pressing. He's got to settle down a bit.
And Stevenson's checked in for Paul George. The dish to Green. Fires it up. And it's good, coming on the assist by Rajon Rondo. Green's got the first basket of the game for the Celtics.
Well, with him, what immediately comes to mind is the long-range shooting. I mean, he can knock down shots from anywhere, and of course that forces him.
Oh! Are you kidding me? That was a power punch right there.
Oh, great.
And the defense just lets him go there.
And once he hit the open floor, there was no looking back, straight to the rack. You know, Avery Bradley missed the first 3 months of last season after undergoing surgery on both shoulders, fellas. I mean, when Rondo went down with his ACL tear, Bradley stepped into the starting point guard role, and I thought performed very well.
And for Bradley, a tremendous defender, and Steve able to defend either the 1 or the 2.
Well, he's listed at 6'2", but he has incredibly long arms and quick feet. So he's strong enough to guard bigger players, but his best attribute is putting pressure on the ball. It's a nightmare just trying to bring the ball up the floor against Bradley.
One of the best on-ball defenders, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no doubt.
That's also good. So he hits both free throws.
Well, Indiana's success last season was built around its defensive prowess, and they usually would set the tone at the start of the game. They were one of the best in the league at allowing the fewest first-quarter points.
And I think Doris Burke has something for us right now. Doris?
Kevin, here's what the Celtics head coach had to say when we spoke just a few minutes ago. They are up against Danny Granger, who is a guy who can hurt them in a lot of different ways. He talked about what his team needs to do to slow down Granger. One key will be to make sure he has to work for every shot, saying if we let him just catch and shoot in the corner, we're toast. We have to make him work for every shot he gets.
And as always, Doris, thank you. C.J. Watson, he's checked in for Indiana. Going back to the Pacers once more, you knew they wanted to emphasize defense each game, and Steve, they would always come out and get right in the offensive player's face to start the game.
And they allowed the fewest first-quarter points of any team in the league last year, Kevin. That's a great way to kind of set the tempo, set the tone in a ball game. And the Pacers were able to establish that defense right away.
Gets it to go.
You gotta love the use of the bounce pass there. Perfect feed.
On defense, the Celtics. 8-point game. And it's Stevenson missing.
This guy's a good three-point shooter, but that was probably from a little bit too far.
Yeah, not what I would call working to get the best shot either. A temporary lapse of focus from him on that turnover. It's embarrassing, but on occasion it does happen.
Ball's knocked loose. Rondo kicks to Olynyk. Pass. He feeds it to Olynyk. Second shot opportunity. And another shot. And Lance Stevenson picks up the foul. So that will be his second foul of the game. We're in the bonus. We'll go to the line to shoot 2. The Celtics shooting their 5th and 6th free throws of the game.
Well, you look back at a season ago, this is a club that made 78% of its shots from the free throw line, so very comfortable with that strike.
And, you know, that just added to their confidence at the offensive end. I mean, knowing that free throw shooting was something they didn't have to worry about gave them a lot of confidence to play freely.
It's stolen by Bass. He kicks it to Green. He passes to Rondo. Drains the jumper to finish the break. Rondo's got his first basket. All right, well, look at how the hustle game has been going for the Celtics.
Well, I think the defensive aggressiveness on display here has caught them off guard, playing airtight defense and coming up with the steals.
And the other thing they're doing is forcing a lot of turnovers, and that's helping them to get easy points at the other end. Their offense has really come together immediately, threatening to run away with this game.
It's hard to imagine they'll be able to stay as hot as they've been so far, but if they can, watch out.
Will it go? Rebounded by the Celtics. First quarter of play, we're about 3 minutes in, and there's the foul. It's on C.J. Watson. That's his first foul of the game, and the bonus will go to the free throw line.
Well, you know, last season I think officially brought the immediate championship aspirations of the Celtics to a close. The 7th seed in the East, dispatched in the first round by the Knicks, the rebuild was on in full cycle.
Celtics making a switch here. Humphries checked in, and back to the Celtics, making the playoffs, sure, but, you know, not like Steve back in 08 or 2010.
Well, this has been a phenomenal era for, with KG and Pierce that is now a thing of the past. But look, they've hoisted a championship banner, very close to another. But it's just time to move on, and that's just the way it is in the NBA. These things go in waves, and the Celtics now in rebuilding mode.
Jared Sullinger's checked in for a limit, and there's the foul. It's on C.J. Watson. So that will be his second foul of the game. We're in the bonus, and we'll go to the line to shoot 2.
You knew that at some point the window for the group of Celtics that had won a title was going to close. I mean, it was inevitable. But last year it seemed like they were going to go for one last hurrah as they added some depth and looked to reload for another run.
And getting back to the Celtics and Rondo's injury, a lot of people expected them to start the rebuilding process. Ended up standing pat at the deadline, Steve. Even though there was, it seemed a lot of interest.
Last hurrah, they didn't get it finished. And now you start the rebuilding project. So a lot of trades, a lot of movement over the summer, but I like the fact that they gave that club one more run.
And the basket by Scola.
Textbook right there. Nice pass, great catch, beautiful finish.
And here's Boston. They're on an 18-4 run right now. Rondo with it. Scola covering, and Danny Granger gets the whistle that time. That's his first foul of the game, and the bonus will go to the free throw line.
And defensively, he forces a ton of turnovers. He's great at anticipating where the ball is, where it's going, and what his man's going to do with it.
And you know what else, Steve? Watching him run the pick and roll is like watching poetry in motion. I mean, this guy has that basic play down pat. He's unstoppable when he runs it.
The Celtics making a switch here. Wallace is checked in.
Before his injury last season, it was quite clear. While the rest of the Celtics bunch could still hold their own, this would no doubt be Rondo's team moving forward.
Huge advantage for them already.
And as well as they've played at both ends so far, this lead might continue to grow. It has not been an easy quarter for him, at least offensively speaking.
Sullinger with the bucket.
Well, it's been all about pace and space with them. Tempo, the fast break points, just a huge advantage.
Yeah, they've been looking to push it all the time and to get that early offense, and they're doing it well.
And for Rondo and the Celtics, it actually explored trading him in the past. You always hear the rumors he butted heads with Doc Rivers, and they wondered if he was too individualistic. But now they hand him the keys.
Well, he's a tremendous player, Rondo, and a guy who can take over a game. And there have been times when he's been a little moody. We've seen him bump officials. He's gotten suspended. He's gotten into little tiffs with teammates. But I kind of like that feistiness, too, as long as it's channeled in the right way.
Watson kicks to Granger to stop the run. That's good, and the assist goes to Watson. 1:02 left here in the opening quarter. Outside Rondo, trying to go for an alley-oop, but excellent defense and anticipation there to stop it. From deep. Out of bounds, Boston takes possession. The Celtics making a switch here. There's 45 seconds left to play in the first quarter. And the call will be against George Hill. That's his third foul so far. Bonus situation in effect, so we'll head to the free throw line for 2. The Celtics have been getting it done at the line, 10 for 12.
Well, guys, for the Pacers, it's been a slow and long climb from the malice at the Palace back in 04. But now with a terrific young team, fresh off a strong showing in the Eastern Conference Finals, we can finally say the Pacers are back, and they're going to be around for a while contending for championships.
Watson's shot is good. 34 seconds left in the first quarter. Outside Rondo. Here's Wallace. Cans the shot with nobody near him. That'll be a 5-second call. There's 25 seconds left in the first quarter. Granger misses. Wallace kicks to Rondo. Pass to Lee. The feed to Humphries. Granger covering, and Danny Granger gets the whistle that time. So that will be his second foul of the game. We're in the bonus, and we'll go to the line to shoot 2. That's good from Humphries. Humphries hits them both. Here's Granger. In low to Scola. Nice defense from Holtz. And the buzzer sounds to end the first, and we've got a blowout underway here. Celtics out in front, just dominating this one. And the second quarter will be on the way when we come. And we welcome you back to start the quarter. Players had a chance to get hydrated with Gatorade. And there's certain to be some great basketball ahead for us. And for the Celtics here, they've been putting on a show, guys.
And they're really keying in on getting as many good shots inside the lane as possible. They're doing a nice job of not just settling for outside looks.
Yep, I agree. I mean, they're working it inside and doing it with intention and purpose.
Okay, well, let's check in with Doris Burke reporting from our sideline in this game. Doris, take it away.
Gentlemen, Roy Hibbert is pretty good friends with Tim Duncan. Hibbert recalls when they met. He said, I met him when I was a kid during the 2001 NBA All-Star Game in D.C., and he actually remembers that moment. We share scouting reports on other teams. It's just a friendship. I learn from him, and you know, he's the best. So I don't know if he picks up anything from me, but I definitely learn from him. Kevin, a great tutor for the young Hibbert.
Well, hard to think of a better mentor for Roy than the great Tim Duncan. Thanks, Doris.
You know, Jared Sullinger was one of the top prospects in the 2012 draft, but concerns about his back dropped him to the 21st pick by Boston, and you know, those concerns were well-founded. He ended up going under the knife in February after a back issue in Boston. He did play well, though, prior to that injury.
Brandon Bass is checked in for the Celtics. Chris Copeland's checked in for the Pacers. Rondo dishes to Lee. And it's Paul George with the foul. And that'll be his third foul so far. Well, back to Sullinger. He'd been playing pretty much all season in pain, showing a lot of grit and toughness, I thought, Clark, as the season wore on.
Yeah, Kevin, and the good news as his back recovers is that his game was never really based on his leaping ability. His game is low to the ground, based on savvy and skill. He's strong, powerful, again, very skilled. So the recovery prognosis is good, and I think he's looking forward to a long and productive career. He's a really good basketball player.
And it's Rondo penetrating, and that is good. Rondo's got 13.
Well, we've seen that more than a few times, an easy bucket in the lane.
Yeah, the interior defense simply has been lifeless.
Jared Sullinger's checked in for the Celtics. For Indiana, they've gotten only one of their first 4 shots in the second quarter to drop.
It was certainly a slow start to the season for the Pacers. Their veteran and leading scorer, Danny Granger, was on the shelf with a knee injury, but somehow this team found its identity around defense and the emergence of some younger players that may serve them well going forward. You get Danny Granger back with the young, emerging talent. This team should contend for a while. took advantage of some shoddy defense there. They've got to at least get a finger on it.
Rondo kicks to Wallace. And it's good, coming on the assist by Rajon Rondo. For Indiana, they've gone 2 of 6 from the field in the second quarter so far. And Granger was able to come back for them for a stretch during the regular season, but eventually had to once again miss the rest of the games. But the team had grown to where, that probably didn't derail them, as it might have, Steve, in the past.
Well, the big thing with the Pacers, Kevin, is that they have a lot of depth now across the roster. And with the emergence of Paul George, who kind of took Granger's spot, they were able to move on pretty well without him. Well, there's plenty to like about him as a player, but, one thing that really stands out is the quick trigger. He can catch the ball in space, defenders all over him, but, in an instant, lets that shot go, and he is accurate.
Very true, Steve. I mean, he's also one of those guys who doesn't take long at all to get on a roll offensively. He's a fun player to watch when he gets hot.
3 minutes of action so far in the second quarter.
One of the bright young head coaching stars in the league, Frank Vogel, took over the Pacers on an interim basis 3 seasons ago and immediately paid dividends. They had a strong finish to that season and his first season in a competitive first-round series against Chicago, and that success has continued to build and grow, and Frank Vogel deserves a lot of the credit. He's going to play his way right onto the bench and out of the game if he continues to shoot it like he has so far in this quarter.
Clark, can you believe it? A point guard who can soar like that?
Man, I tell you what, that's a major elevation there. That's a power finish for a player at any position.
Well, he is not afraid to take it inside. We know that.
And Coach Vogel, the second youngest coach in the NBA last season, but he had been working in the NBA for 15 years, Steve, prior to that, prior to becoming a head coach.
Yeah, 5 years as a video coordinator, a couple seasons as an advanced scout, and then 8 years on the bench as an assistant. So he's definitely paid his dues and learned a lot on his way up the ladder.
A big part of why the Celtics dropped so much last season was they weren't very good on the road. Ended with a 14-27 record away from home, which was by far the lowest of any team in the East that made the playoffs.
Wallace hits 2 free throws. And as you said, Clark, rarely can you win just over a third of your road games like the Celtics did and expect to make the playoffs. And had they played closer to 500 on the road, Steve, there's a good chance they could have ended up as the 5th or the 4th seed.
Well, and in the Celtics case, it wasn't their defense, Kevin. It was their offense that betrayed them when they went out onto the road. They just couldn't win the close games. And some of it was just age and injury. But so many of those road losses from last year just came back to haunt them, and that's why they ended up with that 7 seed.
Let's go now to the sideline and catch up with Doris Burke. Hey, Doris.
Well, guys, the huge trade that really overshadowed this year's draft, the blockbuster deal between the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. The Celtics sending out the veteran trio of Jason Terry, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce, and in return receiving 3 future first-round picks, the right to swap picks in 2017. For the Celtics, a tough but realistic decision to begin the rebuild process. For the Nets, an all-in attempt to win a title. Guys, it sent shockwaves throughout the league, and we'll just have to wait to see how it all shakes out.
They've got probably the best team in franchise history. We'll see where they go next.
The defense just couldn't recover in time.
Yeah, the D pretty much went brain neutral on that one, Clark. Wouldn't you?
Yes, sir. I like that phrase.
Yeah, I don't use that phrase very often, but to me, that's what happened. He shifted the brain into neutral.
Yes, he did.
That was embarrassing. You got to love the season from David West last year, coming off the ACL tear back in 2011. I think he's completely back as far as that injury is concerned. He was so good last year, particularly in the playoffs.
The Pacers making a change here. Scola's checked in. And David West, Clark, a locker room leader for the Pacers last season, helped lead them all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and a guy I know that you greatly admire.
Oh, my goodness. Love the way he does his work. I call him Real Deal 21. There's nothing fluffy about what he gets done, and he's so smart and so savvy in how he approaches the game, and really a lion in the locker room for the Pacers. That's why that team was so tough in many ways, particularly defensively.
That one is off.
It's always strange to see how a team will react when they lose one of their biggest stars. Last season, the Celtics were thought to be dead in the water when Rondo tore his ACL, but they actually rallied and went on the winning streak after the injury.
C.J. Watson, he's checked in for George Hill. Well, Clark, as you said, with Rondo and the Celtics, they would go on to win the next 7 right after his injury, and overall Steve played better than expected the rest of the way.
Sometimes that's the way these things go, Kevin. A star player goes down, everybody else kind of steps up, and instead of feeling sorry for themselves, they use it as a rallying cry. And all those role players for Boston really picked up the extra slack, and I thought they made a great push to end that season after the Rondo injury. Not his quarter scoring-wise. He's just 1 for 7 from the field.
Boston shooting just phenomenal here tonight. 73% from the field. And it's Rondo penetrating. And the basket by Olynyk.
Shaky defense down low again. It's been a mismatch in the paint.
I'm sure they didn't go into this one expecting to get battered like they have inside.
Scola, no luck.
Boy, they've really dominated on the glass, and of course they've done a lot of good things here tonight, but the rebounds have played a major factor.
Hey, Steve, you know rebounding always one of the key barometers in determining the victor. Not trying to rattle any rims or racks there. Just up and in with the finger roll.
The 3 from George. That doesn't go either for George. Here's Rondo. Can't get it to go. And through the first half, a pretty lopsided affair. Boston on top, running away with it.
And now, brought to you by Sprint. And now get ready for the halftime report. We're happy to be part of your Sunday. Boston leading against Indiana. They've been tremendous defensively, and that's how you lock a team down. For Rajon Rondo, things certainly going his way against Indiana. Seems like everything's falling for him. Not sure if he even knows how to miss. Not the same story, though, for the Pacers. The way they're racking up fouls, hard to watch. They gotta play smarter. Paul George, off to a rough start. It hasn't been pretty. He's only got 1 make from the field. That'll be all for us here at the studios as we head back to the start of the third quarter with Kevin, Steve, Clark, and Doris. Thanks so much for joining me.
The Sprint Halftime Report, presented by Sprint.
And as we begin the second half, first half wasn't even close, guys, and we'll see if there is a comeback on our hands or more of the same as we get the third quarter started. Rajon Rondo has been sensational.
Yeah, he was on a mission there in the first half, just trying to get into the lane every time possible.
Aggressive attacking basketball at its very best.
You know, they're being very one-dimensional right now, going to the post every time, but if it works, you don't need another dimension.
Well, they're taking this defense to task, quite honestly. Every one of their last 10 points have come in the paint.
And foul called as he misses. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The Pacers shooting their 3rd and 4th free throw shots of the night.
Well, this is a club that shot 75% as a team from the free throw line last season.
He misses the free throw.
When Hibbert came into the league, guys, everybody assumed he'd be a project, and that's been accurate. But projects can pay off, and to have a player with his size and work ethic and skill is a huge payday for the Pacers.
George Hill's checked in for Indiana. And he can't get the second one to drop either. Coming up empty that time. And going back to Hibbert, and Clark, you mentioned this, looked at as a project when he came in, taken with the 17th pick, Steve, back in 08, and a draft that you were involved with Phoenix.
Well, we took Robin Lopez at 14 because he just had much better mobility athletically. We were shocked that Hibbert could eventually develop the kind of speed and lateral quickness that he's done. So pretty impressive that he's put all this work in and defied his critics.
Green, Ranger covering, dishes it to Olynyk, and again it's Boston converting.
You know, that mid-range jump shot may be an underutilized tool in today's NBA, but it's really serving this team well.
In fact, it very well might be the strongest area of their game offensively.
Rondo with it, picked up by Hibbert. Rondo drives in, that drops. Rondo's got 26 points.
Well, they've played terrific basketball at both ends, and that's why this lead is totally out of control.
Really been an almost flawless game for him, Steve. No doubt about it.
And offensively, they have yet to hit a shot. Slow start here to the second half.
You know, in order to win your division, you have to be able to win games against the rest of your conference, and that's exactly what Indiana did last season. A tough team and a tough division, and They gave no ground to other teams in the East.
And the Pacers, as you mentioned, Clark, very solid against the other teams in the East as they would cruise to a 31-20 record against the rest of the...
Well, Jan Mahimmi wasn't a big name when he became a free agent a few years back. But, you know, the Indiana Pacers saw enough in him that they were willing to offer up to a 4-year deal for Jan to be the backup center.
And kind of an interesting trade for the Pacers for Mahimmi. You know, you could have signed him outright, but chose to trade Darren Collison to Dallas in that sign and trade with the Mavs. Mahimmi, well, an important player for the Pacers as we saw backing up Hibbert.
He was good, but, you know, it would have been nice for them to keep Collison and sign Mahimmi. I thought they needed some depth at the point guard spot, particularly in that playoff run.
Humphries kicks to Wallace. 4 on the clock. Crawford from deep three-point range. Shot no good. Here's Johnson. And out of bounds as the Celtics gain possession. 6 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And so it's Boston easily grabbing this one. Not much to be critical of with this win, Clark.
Not at all. I mean, they showed up not just to play, they showed up to give great effort and to win, and they did both.
And that about wraps it up for Clark Kellogg, Steve Kerr, and Doris Burke. This is Kevin Harlan thanking you for watching the NBA presented by 2K Sports.